Hello, hello, and welcome. I am super excited to have been asked to come and talk to you today about stress. So just to start things off, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Robin Dara. I am a mom of two. I've been an esthetician for 12 years, and I absolutely adore educating people on self-care, self-knowledge, really taking back the power that we often feel like we don't have, and find ways in coping with the daily stressors, the things that happen in the day-to-day that we literally have no control over. So that being said, there's all kinds of things that happen in our outside world. There are all kinds of situations that we often end up allowing them to overrule the one thing that we have control over, and that is ourselves, and that is how we cope with those situations. So something that I find very powerful to know, to really understand that we are conditioned, and the reasons why we are conditioned is because we have felt certain emotions, thought certain thoughts, had certain things that we've done on a day-to-day basis that have programmed our bodies and our minds to react a certain way. So let's understand how our fight or flight response actually works. So, we're supposed to have this. It's supposed to be something that is a great tool. So I'm sure you've heard of fight or flight. Let's pretend for a minute that we're an animal. So I'm a zebra. I say zebra because I'm wearing the black and white. I'm a zebra and I'm grazing away at the grass, and then my peripherals over here, I see a lion coming right at me, and I've got two choices. It's either run for my life or get eaten. So let's say I'm running. So I'm in the flight. I run away. I outsmart this lion, and about an hour after, I'm back to just grazing. So what happens is, like, my nervous system has just gone into overdrive. I did what I needed to do to survive, which is what our stress response is for. It's supposed to help us survive, right? So I've survived this lion, and now, because I'm an animal, I'm able to allow the nervous system to do what it needs to do, taking normal breaths now, and I'm eating the grass again. Now, the difference between a human and an animal is the fact that we can actually get ourselves in a state of fight or flight from thoughts alone. Okay, so on top of the fact that we have all these outside circumstances, we also have these internal circumstances that do highly impact how we are in a state that's inside of our body. So if we are constantly triggering ourselves by thinking something that we have no control over, that we cannot change, then we can actually stimulate the fight or flight response just from thinking. So it almost makes you feel like, wow, I have literally no control. I have no control over anything. And that's absolutely not true. So hear me out when I say that even though the fight or flight response is there to help us survive, that is what it's for. So if we're thinking about if we're in a constant state of stress, we're constantly either A, thinking about things from the past that we can't control, or B, we're overthinking things that are going to come in the future that we cannot predict. So my favorite thing to educate on is, how do we just come to the now? How can we be at peace with what's going on around us when we have no control over it? Remember you. Remember who you are, how you want to feel. How do you want to show up as a person? How do you want to show yourself to the world? I'm sure that you are very much a person that likes to please everyone around you or take care of everybody around you. You're a person of service in one way or another, and you find joy in doing those things for other people. That's probably one of your coping mechanisms from the stress. But if you're not taking care of you in that process, then what happens? you end up being more stressed, just giving from an empty cup. So my favorite thing is, again, bringing people back to now by teaching them how to take care of themselves. So that being said, I want to share the fact that I got into my essential oil lifestyle because of how they affected my emotions and helped me with that stress response. So a lot of times when you are seeking out new ways of healing, I mean, in some cases, we're looking for something that helps us with the headache, and something that helps us sleep, something that helps us, have a better digestive system. And we're seeking out natural ways of doing this because, I mean, putting a Band-Aid on things doesn't last forever, right? So my first experience with essential oils was during a stressful time in my life, a time that should not be stressful, but it was my wedding. And I was afraid that my bridesmaids were going to fight and I didn't even want to get together. So anyways, we went to a yoga studio. A beautiful friend used essential oils on us, and I was blown away by either, did these oils just block their energies, or did they just make us all feel so good that nobody cared about the other energies and they were actually happy? And I was like, I need those in my life and I need them right now. And it was at that point that I decided to really hone in on what essential oils can do for us. So when it comes to our stress response, it's amazing because you can literally grab an essential oil, take the cover off and smell it. And because when we smell them, they go through the olfactory part of our nose right here into the limbic part of our brain, and it then sends signals to the rest of our body to do whatever the chemical constituents in it are there to do. Okay, so my two favorite oils for this practice is actually Adaptive and Wild Orange. So Adaptive is your oil that was literally made for your mental well-being. There's different protocols. One of them being like to use your rollerball to trace the web of your hand, rub your hands together, and take a nice deep breath. So I should just rewind for a second and explain, in case you don't know this already, but think about a time when you, let's say, walk by the bakery and it just smelled so good and it just reminded you of grandma's cooking. It's like, what happened is that scent stimulated the limbic part of your brain, which then sent signals to the rest of your body. And it made you remember a time in your life where, wow, I was happy, or whatever. Or maybe you walked by a spot and you smelled donuts and you were sick from donuts and you remember that feeling from that smell. That is how powerful scent can be. And so when you can take the power of that sense in our body, the sense of smell, and connect it to something that's got chemical constituents in it that's going to send signals to your body to calm the nervous system, then it's a beautiful, beautiful practice. Okay. There's another oil I really love for this practice is Copaiba, because Copaiba it directly affects the nervous system. And when our nervous system is calmed, the chemical constituents in that oil is telling your nervous system to calm down, then all the other systems in your body need to follow suit. So that being said, your nervous system is like this, the fight or flight response is all in the nervous system. And so our nervous system actually is what is in charge of how we are coping, the triggers that we have, the behaviors that we do, the habits that we're doing, the thoughts that we're having, the language that we speak to ourselves. So if my favorite practice literally is to take oils in times of stress, in times of just blah, I have no control. I either have my oils going in the diffuser, or I have them on my body, or I have just take them and take some nice intentional deep breaths. So that being said, let's put this into practice. Okay. So should have been more prepared for this. Grab an oil, whatever oil that you have. Our breath is something that we do all day long unconsciously. So what happens to the body when you actually consciously take the time to breathe. Okay, watch what it does. Okay, so wild orange is a great one for this practice. I've tested it on all kinds of people. I'm not usually one to tell you to think a negative thought, but in this case, it's amazing. Put a drop in your hand, try to think of a negative thought, and then smell. The chemicals constituents in that oil literally make it impossible for you to hold that negative thought. It's just a beautiful oil. It really helps send those signals to the body to just be more at ease. That on top of the breath, beautiful combination. So I like to call my oil an anchor. So if you've ever meditated before, or even if you think of meditation, you've never done it before, you think like, oh, I'm supposed to stop thinking, I'm not allowed to think. Well, that's not the case. If you haven't meditated, you definitely should try. But let's, in this case here, if we're trying to focus on our breath, but you find yourself, thinking about that thing that caused you some stress, and it's affecting how you're breathing, the oil, it can be your anchor. And that anchor gives you the ability to use that smell as something to come back to on top of the breath. Okay, so you got your drop in your hand, rub your hands together, and nice and deep in the nose. And again. Keep going. Now, if you happen to be feeling tension in any certain area of your body, I want you to actually imagine sending that breath to that certain area of your body. Let's pretend that it's your shoulders. Your shoulders are sore. Send that air into your shoulders. When you're breathing out, you're breathe the tension out with it. Okay, so let's keep going. One more time. No matter where you're at, no matter who you're with, no matter what you're doing, you can put some intention towards your breath, and it does amazing things for that stress response that we're here to talk about today. Trust me, try it. The practice of breathing the air into areas of tension might take you a little bit more practice, but it is a beautiful thing to do. Actually, imagine the tension blowing out when you breathe out is phenomenal. You can do it enough times that it literally takes that tension away if you really put that intention behind what you're doing. Another thing I like to do is demand the brain to pay attention. So I might do this. Release. And I'll say release to myself each time that I blow out. That just gives it even more intention. So I know I just blurted out a whole lot of information to you, but the biggest points I want to make here is that our stress response is coming from our nervous system. Okay, our nervous system can be stimulated by outside external factors, or it can be stimulated by thoughts alone. So what are the things that you're thinking about? If you are thinking about the past, or you are thinking about the future, then you can literally put yourself in a state of stress, and nobody wants to be there. Okay, so try as best as you can to come back to the breath. You have two things that you can use as an anchor to bring that stress down. You have your essential oils and you have your breath. Put those two things together and you have a powerhouse of a stress reliever, quite frankly. So keep those things in mind. Understand there's a whole lot more information that I could have shared with you, but I don't want to give you too much information, but those are the main things. Try to be in the now. With your breath is the easiest way. I also like to take this practice to the next level, and I like to make sure that when I'm releasing that tension in the body, then I can be more present with whoever I'm around. Sometimes I have to put the phone away. Sometimes I have to filter through my Facebook wall and mute some of the people that are causing me stress when I'm on there. Maybe I have to just not be on social media. Put some thought into the things that are going on around you. And if you have a way of not putting so much of you in those situations, do it, because the number one thing that you have control over is yourself. And if you're giving yourself to too many things and too many places and too many people, then you're just a recipe for stress. So if you want to really lower that stress level, then you need to start putting yourself on the priority list. Making yourself a non-negotiable is going to be one of the best decisions that you'll ever make. And I promise you, you're going to start to notice that stress level come down. Using your essential oils as an anchor is only going to help you do that a little bit quicker. So thanks for listening. I appreciate you being here, and we will talk very, very soon. You can most certainly reach out if you have any questions at all.